first memories, I remember, like before I can remember bits of colour, I can't remember any names, but I used to ride BMX. And me and my friend Nick were at these dirt jumps and we bumped into a lad and took him where we'd been building the sand trap in Heaton Park. Came back and there was a sticker on the tree, a rake sticker, and he was like, oh, they do that graffiti. Until that point, it was just, I had no memories of it, it was just bits of colour. And the first time I ever wrote my name, like that was, I was just driving around with my mates, and my mates went on to do like an art class. And his teacher thought it'd be good if he gets photographs of his graffiti. So I was driving around with him, I didn't know he was going to take photos. And we are going to go and get a photograph, and he was like, oh, I should take a can. So I was like, hey, what do you think he's on about, kind of deodorant or something, you know? And now he had a little tin of high coat and gave us a go. And didn't think about it anymore, you know, but I still can't stop thinking about it.
Newcastle's got a really rich history, and there's a lot of names. You go back, and a lot of crews that come through. We've got some big names, you know. I mean, I'm going out and about now, having not really been out and involved in the 80s scene, for example. And you know, there's a lot of respect around not just the UK but further afield. And people talk to me about, they say, oh, you know, Mr. Z. They talk about TNS, you know. They talk about Inch, you know. And there's a lot of local talent that has been, you know, established for a number of years and has built up a respect base that far exceeds the northeast.
It's got a lot of talent. Like when I first went to London after like being a writer, I was sitting with my video cameras, we pulled into every city on the way, you know, thinking, where's the graph? You know what I mean? Thinking it was the same as Newcastle, but it's not. Newcastle's, for a small place, it's got a strong scene.
It all came over as part of the big hip hop culture of the early 80s, which included like breakdancing, rapping, the graffiti, street art. Couldn't breakdance, couldn't rap, always good at drawing, so it kind of drew us towards that side of the whole hip hop movement, you know. I think within the graffiti sort of aerosol art scene it's good to have your own specific identity, because there's so many people out there, and like I always say to everybody, graphs as individual as a fingerprint.
There is a lot more of it about now. People like, behind us there's an artist called Hush, he's doing very well for himself internationally now. There's a lot of art on walls. You find that the councils, local councils now are actually giving walls over to graffiti art. On the estate where we work, a lot of the walls have been given over to graffiti art. So it's much more out there now. People are much more accepting of it. It's not seen as vandalism anymore. People are actually accepting it as an art form, and off the back of that there's a lot of work being put onto paper to be framed up. The likes of Banksy and obviously the forerunners.
Right, well, graffiti art's all about the aerosol can and the marker. Yeah, it's about writing your name. It's about taking certain letters that form a word and seeing how you can bend them, how you can twist them, how you can go your own direction with that particular word. Like mine's Z, Mr. Z as well. I also add that on now and again. And it's just about how you can create all the different ideas and styles to go with that particular set of lettering, you know.
I think traditional graffiti artists need to understand letters, they need to understand font, they need to understand how a letter can evolve, but also how a letter can devolve, and how that can be used in an abstract or, you know, a creative way. Graffiti artists spend the time and sketch a lot more around just understanding the letters and take a lot more pride in the letters, because the letters make up their name. For me, the art culture in the UK in particular is worthy of support, and it's certainly something that I'm kind of backing all the way. And for a number of reasons. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, I've grown up with it, you know, so this particular type of culture, this particular genre of movement, whether you want to call it hip-hop, is a more covering title. This is what I've grown up with, so it's what I'm a part of, and so it's important for me to represent who I am. And any artist or performer of any style or art form should always represent where they're coming from. They should always be true to themselves. You should never put rap with a fake accent. You should never paint something that you're disconnected to. You know, you should always represent where you're coming from. But also, I think there's something anarchic about it. And, you know, as I grow older, I maybe get a little bit more set in my ways, and I maybe become a little more, you know, mainstream, dare I say it. But I think there's part of me that will always strive to support the underdog, to want to kind of see there's always a place for it. If there's not new ideas coming through, whether you agree with them or not, if there's no ideas coming through and no one's being challenged, things become very boring. and that can be dangerous. You know, you should always have that spark coming through, and for me that's why it's important to support underground art culture.
But because the graffiti art, it's quite nice because it's more about the actual image than it is about the artist. There's, again, if you go back to the sort of the Banksy type person that's very anonymous, a lot of these graffiti artists, although they have names on them, it's not their names, it's tag names, so they still have that certain amount of anonymity. So it does actually make you look at the work to enjoy the work rather than the actual artist itself.
There's a few good painters though. I wouldn't like to high out names because it can cause egos to swell and that, you know. But there is some good painters around Newcastle. We have a lot to offer. I don't think there's a lot of what we would call burner like producers. A lot of the ones call them productions these days, where like you have a group of writers getting together as a common goal to try and produce like a giant piece of artwork, like based on a theme or whatever, where the lettering's all sort of like playing together. But most people are still quite individual in the way they think. They go to a wall, they might have similar colours to their friend next to them, but they're still thinking on a very individual basis. I think we could do with a lot more of that sort of production sort of idea within the town, and I think it would take a lot of good painters from up here even further again. Back in the days in early New York when it was first flourishing, it was like 13 to 15-year-olds that were your main protagonists of the art form.
They're saying that the kids run the subways, that the system is out of control, that 15 and 16-year-old kids are running the system, and that graffiti is a symbol of that.
Nah, I ain't running the system.
Hell yeah.
I'm bombing the system.
So there was a lot of like, I'm better than you, I'm gonna dig you, you know. Kind of grew past that a lot, but you tend to get it amongst the young like generation. But eventually they say that because we're from the north, we're all quite a friendly bunch. You know, we're always got open arms to other people that want to come up and paint and that, you know.
I think Star Wars and Subway art, like, literally blew it up, you know what I mean? Like, people had ideas, people did bits, but they didn't realise what was going on or what it was about until they turned up, you know, and everyone just dropped the draw and went, wow, I'm doing this, and some people still are, some people dropped off, and some people, you know, did it for a summer in '86 or something like that, and that was it, and apparently look back at it now, like, the best time in their life, you know.
So, I mean, I think Newcastle has got a richer history perhaps than most cities in the northeast because of one simple thing, which is the metro system. So we've got an underground system, you know, and if you look at like cities like Paris and, you know, all across Europe, New York most famously, you know, there's something metaphorical about an underground system, you know. It's kind of like the lifeblood of a city, and it kind of transports people from one place to the other. It kind of beats with its own kind of drum, and I think that's always going to attract the artists, not just the trains but the track sides, the bridges, the tunnels. You know, it's a fascinating canvas to explore, and I think that's probably why Newcastle kind of tipped it a little bit, you know, in the early days with having the metro system opening up here. And of course that's now stretched into Sunderland, and obviously it always kind of covered the coast. So, you know, I'm saying Newcastle in a very broad term, but, you know, yeah, that's probably why.
Changed a hell of a lot. It's changed the way, like, on the tracks. When I started, you could go down, you get on the trains, you do a full loop, you'd see everything. You'd see throwups, you'd see pieces, you'd see dubs, you'd see productions, you'd see the lot. Now they've been cleaning the tracks. You see the odd few pieces, the odd few things. They've even been getting on to private landlords and getting them to clean their buildings up. And it's just, there's a lot of people more on the tracks now for people stealing lead and, no, is it a copper? So there's like people patrolling the tracks, so you can't even do your track sides. And it's like that whole thing, when you got on the train tracks and you saw all that style and all the different forms, it was like, this is what it's about, this is a culture. Now the kids see a couple of scrappy throwups by someone who doesn't know what they're on about, and they think that's graff. You know what I mean? That's what it repeats. So it's, in the end, you know, that it's just the train companies have cleaned it off, but they've wiped it clear from a new bunch of kids who don't know what they're doing. Like my older friends, like what my crew I joined later on, from when they started, they were painting. They were like outlining first, then filling it in with brush up and stuff, because, you know, they just heard about it. But Futura came and painted a piece in London, and he painted on a wall, and it just blew up from there across England. You know, it's like people started doing walls, then moved on to the trains, you know, and London Underground is massive, was unfucking secure, like, you know what I mean, there was knee fences, knee cameras, people just used to smash it down there, because you could. And the same was up and down here, but most of England's graft started on walls, you know, and that's where it started rolling, and more people who got more clued up about the culture moved on to trains, and some people stayed on the walls and started doing mad, elaborate productions, where other people just kept doing the name on repeat, but started doing it everywhere.
Well, I think it's interesting if you put Newcastle Gateshead in context with Bristol and London in particular, because to my mind I would say there's the three main cities in the UK for street art, graffiti culture. Bristol's kind of maybe seen as the capital almost, just because of the blossoming scene they've had there. And it's interesting, someone actually asked us the other day, you know, did I think that Bristol was jumping on the back of the Banksy phenomena? And I kind of disagreed, and I had to kind of say, well, I think that the Banksy phenomenon has been able to happen because of the approach Bristol Council took, and I think it was that openness to the idea and accepting it and working with it rather than fighting against it. It's actually really benefited Bristol. London has a slightly different approach, but it's the nation's capital, it's got the underground system, you're always going to have that there, it's always going to like pulse, it's always going to have stuff happening, you know. I think, you know, by default Newcastle actually becomes the most interesting out of the three, because here you've got two councils, Gateshead Council and Newcastle Council, with almost opposing a policy on the subject, you know. Newcastle City Council, despite having a legal Hall of Fame which is privately run and not supported by the council anyway, they have a zero tolerance to anything which they deem as graffiti or promoting vandalism, which includes anything using spray cans. And it's often very misguided to the point where they've stopped artists from using spray cans for public art events and insisted that they use marker pens instead, you know, because of the fear of encouraging graffiti, when actually most vandalism, most tagging is with, you know, dyes and marker pens. You know, it's not a lot of it is spray paint.
I don't know, Bristol's always had a massive strong scene in graph, in like art pieces, like big walls, like back in the 80s when that's what it was about, you know, wild style, you know, not just getting up or like painting, like for the sake of painting. It's a lot of Bristol artists have gone from the wall to the canvas, and there's a lot of galleries there that have supported them, and it's a lot of galleries there where they've made the names, where a lot of artists have made the names, where Banksy made his name, where most art galleries are now interested in street artists. But in Newcastle, it's compared to London, London's like, it's bad, it's like the Raji culture, it's like pure vandalism to the nth degree, you know, and it's beautiful. Like most people say, oh, the style's shit, yeah, but at least it's a British style. There's a lot of people that just fucking say that it's some sort of British style, but it's just influenced off foreigners or American, you know, MSK sort of stuff. It's bullshit, it's not, it's beautiful things they're doing, but it's not British. Just, I don't know, Newcastle's got like a whole culture where London is like so separated, like I say, from the bombing culture, from like the youngins, you know, to like the older writers who've been doing the walls and the productions. No one knows each other. It's that big where in Newcastle everybody knows each other, which is a good and a bad thing, you know. It's like the whole history and find in London, like people have been painting for years and no one knows they exist, you know what I mean? And it's like they've been doing amazing fucking pieces and productions that have been promoted all over the world, but no one knows who you are in your own town. It's weird.
I mean, the real change came around sort of 2005. I think that was kind of when things started to come together, and that kind of sort of fits with the global pattern, the emergence of street art. I think Newcastle was just in tune with what was happening elsewhere.
The market's there now, it is an acceptable thing, you know. It's usually how long it takes for the general population to come round and accept something as the normal, rather than back in the day where it was all, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't be writing your name there, you shouldn't be doing this, that and the other, whereas now those people that were into it are the ones with the jobs that control it all now, you know. So it was inevitable, you know. It's something I've talked about for years, that one day it'll be the writers who've grown up that'll provide the market for other writers to sell their wares.
Well, there's people like Z who's got amazing talent and who doesn't, you know, like, doesn't get respected because he's from Newcastle, but then it's like you could burn most people that flip and say whatever about him. Then there's people like Inch and stuff like that who have put Newcastle on the map, but not greatly talented, just dedicated. That's just it. He does a lot of quantity, but it's always of a quality, but it's never past like a big dub or a throw. It's painted as a piece. You know, it's like I've seen stuff by him for years that are far better. You know, and you could do far more, but it just doesn't seem to do.
I think because of our seclusion, we're so far north. When we first started, we couldn't comprehend as teenagers that there was people down south doing graffiti. We're so close-minded and so cut off back in the day because we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have internet. You kind of grew up with the idea that you were the only ones, you know.
Graph, all the places getting promoted far more because of the internet, which it has its good and bad points. But it's a lot of the people who come to Newcastle is because they've got friends and it's deep rooted in the way that people have been painting and travelling for years. You know, most people aren't dicks. You know, and most people in Newcastle are friendly people, so we just get on. You know, but there's a lot of people who come outside of our groups who have come and painted. Like there's a lot of places people come from galleries and stuff like Unit 44. The amount of pieces they've got in whole chart and another biker, you know, from world famous artists. It's like it's biker, you know, like.
In as much as I said before that it's so accepted now that people will walk by and not even look at it. So it's there if people want it. Lots of people will ignore it. In Newcastle, it's funny you can't see this anymore, but when you used to go across the Metro Bridge, going from Byker to Manners, you could look out over the side of the Metro Bridge, and on the end of a wall, when they built the Byker wall, they'd got some of the bricks, and they'd actually bricked Shakespeare's head onto the side of a gable end of a building.
Yeah, it's awesome. Walk past Bill, that's what we say.
And it's brick graffiti. It's the size of the end of a house, and it's of Shakespeare's head, and it's fantastic. And everybody, I've never heard any complaints about it. Everybody loves it. But if that had been done by using a spray can, I'm sure there'd have been some people saying, "Oh well, that's just graffiti."
You know, I fucking love tagging. I hardly do it enough anymore in this soul destroying, you know. But it's lush. It's where all style comes from. It's like, I understand, like, you know, like some people have tagged in certain people's areas who are like a main graph writer and they've pissed and moaned about it. I can sort of see their point, but then it's like you're one of the biggest graph writers, so shut up. There's a big explosion in Sunderland. Some people are like, yeah, check this out, man. He's done 3 pieces and hasn't done a tag, and I was just like, you fucking what?
I think from my point of view, a personal point of view, is that it can be, but there's a lot of it which is just sort of absolutely yobbish vandalism. It's just marking their territory. There's nothing really that great about it. But then you see some that is actually quite artistically executed, where they've actually spent a bit of time and thought about what they're doing. It's not just somebody who's been doodling in their jotter pad at school and writing their name as everybody does, and then doing it a bit bigger with a spray can once they get out of school. It's people who actually have something to say about themselves rather than just how to write their name a little bit fancy.
There's an element of bravery to it as well. When you see one that's just at body height, someone's like, say, just gone on, sprayed their name one colour, just go, and then you see one like on a railway bridge, and I know it's naughty and all that, but they're the ones that have that wow factor, and that's a big sort of bragging right sort of thing, to have that name in that much detail up there. You can't consider how they got there that little bit, and that's what makes it special for me.
Graffiti kind of pulled forward from that whole idea because there was that many people tagging. You had to have something that stood you out from the crowd, like your own particular ideas of style. So that's how the whole graffiti movement was organised, through somebody going, I can do this, I can do that, and then everybody else picking up on it, emulating, and then taking and adding their own little like sort of bit onto it. It was really important. I still say it's very important because it's kind of like your apprentice stage. It's your first dabble into the aerosol art culture, is writing your name either on a bit of paper or on a wall. As you come more and more involved in it and you start questioning who you are and what you're about within it, in my case I got to a point where I had family, I had commitments, I had to sort of knock all the tagging on the head, but it wasn't that I didn't ever do it and I didn't agree with it, I just didn't have no more need for it, you know.
Tagging's part of it. It's like the adventure, you know, like some people say there's graffiti art and some people say there's aerosol art. There's like graph is like a lot of people. It's like what you're painting. The other half is where you're painting. You know what I mean? Like it's part of the adventure of getting up and doing spots you say I can't do. You know.
Unfortunately, there's no schools that the youngins can go to learn it, and to bypass that stage. It'll take any writer. I'll tell you, most writers anyway. If you come from a background where you haven't tagged, then you're not really a genuine writer. It's your first baby steps, and it's what ultimately gives you your basic idea of style as well, because a lot of graph is based on your hand styles, what you could do with a pen, and then how you interpret them shapes that you create with a pen into the sort of the larger scale full colour like pieces and that, you know.
Yeah, because like I would say, if you're going to start bombing, you just got to be respectful of people's stuff. You know, it's like Newcastle's a small place, you know, and writing on people's houses is bullshit. You know, people you know, I can't tell people to go out and commit criminal damage, but you know, if you want to do graffiti, that's where it is. That's where it starts. If you want to do pretty paintings, then buy some boards and paint your back garden.
We organise a whole range of different events across the year. So, I mean, on a weekly basis, we've got a sketchbook session which runs every Wednesday at a local bar. Everyone comes together, has a little bit of a draw, a few pints. It's more of a kind of social thing, really bringing the artists together. And it's a right mixture of artists, so you get everything from kind of like graffiti writers to illustrators to artists and photographers. So you get a right good sort of melting pot of ideas, and it's just a nice little place just to pep your energy up a little bit, you know. That's the kind of sort of on a week-to-week basis. Across the year, we do a whole range of big events, kind of bringing people together, big sort of graffiti jams, big arts events, seminars, film screenings, all that kind of thing. And we support a lot of the local galleries in terms of putting on like the premiere nights for new shows and new artists, etc. I've been to a lot of shows locally with a lot of local artists. I think it's important to support the scene. So, you know, I would tend to go almost kind of regardless, because I'll know the people that are helping put it on, or it'll be a local gallery that's sort of pulling it together. And it's important that everyone in the community supports these things, otherwise we don't have them, simple as, you know. But also because there is a lot of talent out there at the moment, you know, and it is a really interesting time in Newcastle to go out and see work. Chiba Love had a show recently at Tower Gallery that was really interesting. Like, I believe he's working on a solo show coming up soon, which will be another one to check out. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on at the moment, and it's always important to support your scene, even if you don't like everything that you see. You know, go out there and have an opinion, because that opinion feeds into the community develops, the community grows, everyone benefits.
The first exhibition that took place in was 1988. As far as I can remember, there wasn't many places that had attempted to show graffiti at that sort of stage in England. You know, there probably was down in London, but not as far north as this. What we tried to bring was what we'd do on a wall onto the canvas, rather than what a lot of people do, where they change who they are to fit a gallery. And what we tried to do was just be ourselves within the gallery environment. You know, at the time it was quite sort of unique, because like I say, most other writers are trying to like change who they were to fit the art scene, rather than just saying this is who I am, this is what I do.
For me, it's really hard to kind of gauge whether there's a particular style or presentation that I like. I think a lot of it can be down to the setting that the art's in. So whilst, you know, I might appreciate someone doing a kind of wild style out on the street, but I might respect someone more who can then take that concept and almost, you know, tame it to a degree to put it in the constraints of a gallery situation. And so I think the context of the artwork really depends. It is more of a priority to me rather than necessarily the genre or style.
Basically, by keeping to exactly the same principles, that it was about large scale characters, large scale like lettering, like this one next to us here, which is like literally as though it's been peeled off a wall and slapped on a canvas. The techniques used on the canvas are exactly the same as what I would use on a wall. It's all freehand, all freestyle. No stencils, no paintbrushes, no masking, nothing like that. Just trying to keep it raw. You know, there's too many people that'll go to the canvas and go, oh, it's on a canvas, I've got to use this, I've got to use that, and rather than just staying true to who they are and what they're actually about, you know.
Not a lot out there to be done, but then there's a lot of artists now who want to try and do gallery work, because they can do it, we can do it, but like I say, it doesn't seem to happen. All the galleries seem to go for big names that have sold a lot and gonna make their money, you know.
At the moment, in this point in time, there's also a number of sort of key artists that, again, that are really keeping Newcastle on the map, and the more sort of in the art world, you've got people like Hush, who's obviously just, you know, a phenomenon at the moment, you know, and is blowing up all over the place. Obviously, a lot of his work, you can see the influence from the graffiti and the subculture, but it's not necessarily a graffiti product.
He had his own openings for,
awesome.
I think he had 10 artists in a year doing exhibitions in his, pretty much in his workshop, and they'd graffiti the walls and they'd do a print run off the back of it. And so we've been to quite a few of them, just working where we are. It all seems to happen around here.
Yeah,
and
well,
although we're picture framers as such, we actually know an awful lot of what's going on in the whole art scene in the North East, so we do get invites to an awful lot of these graffiti art openings, as it were.
I like the Seth's 53 show from a little while back down at the Tower. That was really nice. Lots of big canvas pieces, so bold and stuff. You just walk in and it's like nondescript, and you go down the stairs and it's the whole atmosphere, you know, when you go into these places and it just hits you like a ton of bricks, and you got your wine in your hand, everyone's talking about the same thing, all same mindset, you know, all into the same. It's nice to be around like-minded individuals.
But graffiti wise, again, you've still got big names. You've still got, you know, TNS is still just batting out pieces, you know, and getting out there and getting a lot of respect. You know, we've got Soon based up here now, and he's just an absolute legend. We're sitting with one of his pieces kind of here beside us, you know. This guy's painting machines, you know what I mean, but with so much soul. I've never seen anyone be able to produce the amount of work and over a short period of time that this guy can create, but with all of it just, you know, drenched in soul. He really puts it a part of himself in everything he paints, and to me that's not only amazing to look at as a finished piece, but inspiring to watch being produced, you know, which is why I think, you know, events like Upfest and the jams that we've put on have grown in popularity, because, you know, watching people paint is a spectator sport. You see the passion, you see the movement. It's kind of like ballet but with paint, do you know what I mean? And like, what's not to enjoy about that?
We've all heard so many conflicting words about life, whether wrong or right, or how you gotta be working hard, and it ain't no easy job to survive. Just keep it alive. We've all come to think of ourselves as links in a chain, so much to gain. We are the ones that tie our fathers to our sons, don't you know? That's how we grow. My life really means is that the songs that I sing are just pieces of a dream that I've been building. And we can make a stand, and here I'm reaching out my hand, 'cause I know damn well we can if we are willing. But we gotta be willing. Got to be willing. Got to be willing. Got to be willing.
For making a living as a graffiti artist, it could be quite difficult. I think it all kind of comes down to, you know, what you're prepared to do and how hard you're prepared to work. You know, there's always going to be the exceptional few who have just got, you know, who through a combination of talent, timing and exposure will just blossom and will, you know, make themselves a very comfortable living very easily. But this is the exception, not the rule, you know. I think for most people like myself who want to, you know, create a living, and, you know, I'm a family man, I've got 2 kids and a wife, and, you know, all that kind of things to, you know, worry about, and, you know, taxes to pay, and government's getting harsher and harsher with how much everything's going to cost, and debts. You know, you've got to survive, haven't you? You know, and so I think there's always got to be a degree of looking at what are your skills and how can you apply them in the most effective way. And so there's a lot of artists out there who are very talented artists who've got a real vision and real creativity, but will subsidise their income by going and painting wall murals in kids' bedrooms. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? Because they're getting to be around what they love. I mean, I always enjoyed being a DJ, and I always thought, you know, I would be you know, the next Carl Cox or whatever. You know, as a kid growing up, this is what I kind of thought. You know, I'm a good DJ. I can do this. But the reality is, there's only one Carl Cox. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's so limited amount of spaces for the superstars. You know, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a career in the area that you enjoy. So I'm passionate about music and art, and here I am making a comfortable living in music and art.
Really. You can do like bedrooms and like some canvases, like to have like, you know, be commissioned, you know. But then there's loads of people now. It's like people just painting bedrooms or just wheel walls, or, you know, it's like, I know I do that because I like to paint in the sun, but it's not all I do. It's not all that I've done. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to start from Graff. Like Graff is out there going, bombing up, hiding, figuring shit out.
Yeah, I'd like to see more legal art spaces. I don't mind if it's graffiti, don't mind if it's street art. I'd like to see more of everything and more opportunities for artists. If we don't invest in the artists, we don't get that investment back.
Newcastle Council has a zero tolerance attitude, so that means we can't even do workshops. Even the people who want to do it legally and teach people about the culture and the art form and do it positively can't. You know, the council have put a block on it. Even like people who want to grow up and not do it illegally and do it legally, there's no chances, no opportunity to do that. There's nowhere legal for me to paint apart from places I've found from personal landlords. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have any places to paint. And if that's, you know what I mean, if that's a crack, it's like, how are we gonna, if an artist or a writer wants to paint and wants to learn how to do it, if he can't have someone in his back garden or somewhere he's got private, where's he gonna learn? You know, what, this is my hobby, why am I being punished for it, you know? I'm being forced to do it illegally, just for the sheer fact there's nowhere legal provided to do it. I enjoy that, but it's for the far as the fact of teaching graffiti, you know, I'm teaching vandalism, teaching creativity and positivity and the can do something. That's what you get from picking up a spray can. Instant satisfaction of, even if just writing your name, I've created something, you know, or a persona, and it all goes from that first gun of, gives a gun of that, and you're writing something, you know, that I can do something.
It's really interesting when people use the term sellout in referring to artists, and now it's something I see a lot, not just currently within the art scene, but something I've dealt with a lot over the years in terms of the music scene as well. And I think the important thing to remember is, you know, what is that person doing as a whole? You know, at the end of the day, if an artist decides to do something which is maybe a bit more commercial, a bit more mainstream, or, you know, it's going to give them the capability to then go off and pursue something that they really, really care about, then I wouldn't say that's a sellout. I'd say that's a means to an end.
It's like, again, the artwork that we do is totally and utterly individual. You know, for one person to say somebody else is a sellout is not the way I would do things, because to me it's to each their own. You know, what's good for them is not good for me, and what's good for me might not be good for somebody else. We don't know their life situations. We don't know what drives them as an artist and in their life choices, and it's not up to us to judge people, you know.
It's a bit like when you discover a band and then all of a sudden you get really upset because they become famous. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's, if these people take it on as a business, it's a business. It's there's lots of artists out there who are making a living at selling pictures. Graffiti art is just another art. It's no different to a photographer trying to sell photographs. It's no different to a musician trying to sell CDs. These people have to make a living. You know, if you like a band, you buy the CD. If you really like them, you'll go and see them live.
There's an old saying that you know, when I first kind of got started, that a lot of graffiti artists used to say to us, which was, you know, what's more beautiful to see, a tiger in a zoo or a tiger in the wild? And of course, the answer you're meant to go for is the tiger in the wild, because you see it in its rawest and most natural state. And I totally get that, and I do think there's an absolute value in that perspective. But, you know, I always say to them, what if that tiger's got a message? What if that tiger's got something it wants to say? How many people are going to hear it in the jungle? But if that tiger takes its message into a zoo, it's got 500,000 people coming to look at that message every day, walking past and seeing that message. So it kind of depends what your motivation is, you know what I mean? If you're just looking for that raw, unadulterated passion, then yeah, man, go out and that's where you need to find it. But if you've got something that you want to get across, if you've got something that you want people to hear and understand, then be in a zoo.
Banksy's a good one. That's a good place to start. That was, again, for me, speaking personally, that was my first sort of experience of the whole movement and that. But as far as Newcastle goes, forerunner being Mr. Hush here, there's definitely a scene going on. You can see it on the walls all around. Like you say, it's not vandalism, it is more seen as art, and actually the irony is people are then vandalising that art, taking it down, because it's like bound to be worth something one day. And that's how this movement, it's exploding. Everything's becoming more valuable. As it becomes more valuable, it becomes more wanted, and the whole thing just grows and grows, and it's a hell of a thing to see.
Banksy, again, I'm not one to judge. I find some of his stuff funny. Yeah, I like some of his thought process. But what he kind of did was he kind of took that whole graffiti artist attitude and visualised it in ways that most graph artists didn't. Yeah, whereas we would all talk that shit, but he went out there and actually made it funny, and people took notice. You know, good on him. You know, if that's what he was after. But at the end of the day, he started off poking fun at the whole artistic movement, and yet now he's one of the world's biggest sellers of art. So isn't that a contradiction in terms in itself? And I think there's a lot of hypocrites. But like I say, well, I'm not a person to judge. If he can sleep at night with that, then fair enough. It's like my good friend Hush Art. He's the same. I've known him a long time. He's wanted to be famous his whole life. It wasn't about the art. It wasn't about anything. He just wanted to be known. You know. The niche now, and he's making 25 grand plus a pop for every canvas he turns out. You know. And if he can sleep at night, then fair enough. You know. He's providing a future for his family.
I can see people have reasons to get kids to get this, that and the other, why they can't be doing everything like they used to, you know, it's a pity. But then some people love what they do and can't stop doing it and need other places to do it because they can't do it the way they have, you know, it changes, you know. Graph, when I started, it was underground, there was fucking, you know, 20, 30 people at the most who were writing and knew about it, you know, or who were active in the scene. You can't say it's one type of person, you can't say it's for everybody. You know, there's so many people that fucking hate it. Some people don't even know it exists. Some people think, oh, it's nice, yeah, Banksy. And you're like, oh man, I talk about graffiti, you know? Shit. I like Banksy's work, but I just fucking hate the way everyone talks about him. So I do graffiti, oh, well, you heard of Banksy? No, I've never heard of him.
This is the one. This is the one.